Welcome back to this episode of Emotional Health. In the previous episode, we saw certain characteristics of the people. Coming to the personality level, we find that some people are aggressive in nature, some are assertive, and some are submissive. The aggressive types think very highly of themselves and very lowly of others. They like to take on the leader's role. They like to dictate, to give orders. They don't like to take orders. In a junior position, they're very rebellious. These people don't like rules and regulations. What I say is right. And those who obey them, they are very well looked after by them. But those who don't, they're cut down to size. These people tend to suffer from superiority complex. Examples of these types of people from real life? Hitler. Yeah. Balasaheb Thackeray.
I think mostly from the politics, you see all the
Yeah.
leaders who
Indira
are
Gandhi.
obsessed by themselves.
Yeah. Lalu Prasad, Jayalalitha, Mamata Banerjee, Mayawati. All these are aggressive people. The assertive types of people are stickler to rules and regulations, stickler to hierarchy. He's my boss, I must obey him. He's my junior, he has to follow me. Or they are my parents, I must listen to them. They are my children, they have to listen to me. Like when Morarji Desai was the Deputy Prime Minister, a journalist asked him a question on an issue which everybody knew he had a difference of opinion with the then Prime Minister. His reply was that she is my captain and I must follow her. A true disciplined soldier. When he became the captain, he could not take any indiscipline from his vice captain. So much so that he lost his chair. Had he been more diplomatic, more tactful, could have survived. So these people tend to be very rigid. Most bureaucrats are like this. That's why you get the bureaucratic red tapeism. T.N. Session, G.R. Khairnar. These people are so rigid that suppose they are driving a car at night, it's around 10 o'clock, the traffic lights are about to go off, the roads are deserted, no pedestrians, and yet if they see a red traffic signal, they must stop. Because rules are rules and they have to be followed. Whereas the aggressive, he will go through a red light even in peak hours. And the submissive, he'll look around for a cop. No cop, then go through. So they obey the law out of fear. The assertives obey the law out of respect. Whereas the aggressives disregard the law. The submissives are better followers than leaders because they cannot shoulder responsibility. If responsibility is thrust on them, they may get nervous. Like if a clerk is promoted as an officer, which entails more responsibility, he may develop promotional neurosis and request to be demoted back as a clerk where he was more comfortable. These people are very diplomatic, very tactful. Unlike the aggressives and assertives who are too headstrong. They'll call a spade and succeed in putting their foot in their mouth. These people are also very humble. They are the ones who make the maximum use of the words, please, thank you and sorry. And they may apologize even if they are not at fault. Whereas the assertive says that if I am wrong, I'll apologize. If I am not wrong, I won't. And the aggressive?
Never apologize.
The question doesn't arise because in his opinion, he can never be wrong. Now, can you tell me which of these three is good, which is bad?
Assertive.
All of them are good and equally so. Each of them have their positive traits and negative traits. Whichever nature we regard as good, we are focusing on their positive traits, and whichever nature we are regarding as bad, we are focusing on their negative traits. So our outlook is lopsided. If you correct that lopsidedness and straighten it out, then you find no nature is good or bad. Suppose it was possible to change over from the so-called bad nature to the so-called good nature, then the bad nature would lose its negative trait but also lose its positive ones. The good nature will get the positive trait but also its negative traits. So the net gain is zero. Then why change? First and foremost, it's not possible to change the nature because the nature being innate cannot be changed. Then the question arises that how do we get rid of these innate negative traits? And the answer we have already discussed earlier, if you can pick it up.
Self-control.
Self-control. Whatever be our nature, exercise control over it and behave as per the need of the situation. Then you will not suffer from the negative traits. There are further dimensions at the personality level. Some people are social by nature, some are asocial by nature. The social types like to be in the company of others. They cannot stay alone. The asocial prefer to stay alone and shun social gatherings. Which is good?
Neither of them, I think.
A person who
So
goes
depending-
in social gatherings.
That is the popular misconception.
Depending on what the trend is like.
Yeah. So neither of them is good or bad, but the excess of both of them is incorrect. Like I know of a lecturer, she commutes between the college and the home in the local train in Mumbai. She reaches home by 3 o'clock and the husband, who's a businessman, comes home by 9 or 10. Now, the 5-6 hours that she has to spend all alone, she just can't. So what does she do? She takes down the addresses of other women in the local train and goes and lands up at their place. Excessively social. Without a consideration whether the other lady has some other task to perform, like cooking for the family or taking the lessons of the child. So, no nature is good or bad, but the excess of it makes the negative traits to appear. And that can be prevented by exercising self-control. There is yet another dimension. Some people are flexible, some are fixed. The flexible type of people are very adjustable. They cannot give no for an answer. The fixed types are very non-adjustable. They cannot accept no for an answer. The flexible type doesn't like to keep others waiting for them. They are ready to wait for others. The fixed type, they don't like to be kept waiting, but they don't mind making others wait for them. Like when the doorbell rings or the phone bell rings, the flexible will drop everything and answer it. The fixed, only when the task at hand is over will they respond. By that time, the phone has stopped ringing or the person at the door has already gone back. Again, which is good?
Adjustable.
Excess of flexibility is also bad. Then you are taken for granted. You are used as a doorman. So again, same answer. None of them is good, none of them is bad. Excess of both is bad.
So
Now-
what is the reason behind these two qualities, the nurture or the nature?
Nature, these are all natures that we are considering.
Okay.
So, we have seen different types of natures at the physical level, at the mental level, and at the personality level. And if you make a permutation combination of all of these, you will find that each person is unique. There is no duplicate, there is no carbon copy, there is no Xerox. But we want others to be our clones and to behave the way we would behave were we in their place. And that leads to trying to change others to suit to our liking, which is never going to be possible. On the contrary, it may lead to more and more conflicts. We had already seen earlier that each person has two aspects. One, innate nature, and two, the acquired beliefs. So a person P1 will have nature N1, beliefs B1. Similarly, a person P2 will have nature N2, beliefs B2. So also a person P3 will have nature N3, beliefs B3, and so on. Now each person believes that he or she is right and wants the others to behave as per what he or she considers to be right. So P1 wants P2 and P3 to behave as per his beliefs. Similarly, P2 also wants P1 and P3 to follow what he considers to be right. So also, P3 tries to impose his own will on others. The result? Difference of opinion and interpersonal conflicts. Now, who is right? None
All are
of
wrong.
them. All of them are wrong, but each of them thinks they are right. Let us analyze this more closely. As far as N1, N2, N3 is concerned, these can be likened to the various cells of the body. Like, say, our body has so many different types of cells. We have skin cells, bone cells, muscle cells, fat cells, blood cells, brain cells, heart cells, so many different types. Can you tell me which of these are useful and which are useless?
All are useful.
All are useful.
Suppose, being a psychiatrist, I were to say that it's the brain cell which is most important. Then just imagine the entire body made up of only brain cells. Can it function?
No.
So, just as the body needs a variety of cells for its functioning, the society needs a variety of natures for its functioning. If everybody in the society had the same type of nature, then the society cannot function. But what we mistakenly believe is that ours is the best nature and others better change over to that. Such a changeover is neither possible nor warranted. Why not possible? Because the natures being inborn cannot be changed even if you want to, just to please the other person. And why not warranted? Because the society needs those other types of natures as well for its functioning. So what is the bottom line? Learn to accept all natures as they are and don't try to change them as you would prefer them to be. Such an acceptance must be extended to one's own nature as well. Many a times we are not satisfied with our nature, try to change it, don't succeed, and then have a lot of self-negative attitudes. I am useless, I am good for nothing. This is also damaging. However, the same normal cell of the body, so very essential for its upkeep, when it multiplies excessively, what is the result?
Cancer.
Cancer. Cancer is a disease we don't get from outside, it's our own normal cell gone berserk. In the same manner, the same normal nature, when it lacks self-control, it brings about negative traits. Like firmness is a good trait, but excessive firmness is stubbornness. Trustfulness is a good trait, but excessive trustfulness is gullibility. So, having accepted your nature, now learn to exercise control over it. The control over other people's nature is none of your business. It is best left to them. Now let's come to B1, B2, B3. To understand the differences among them, let me recount a story, the story of the elephant and the six blind men. There were six blind men who didn't know what an elephant looks like, so they went to the zoo, stood in front of the animal, touched it and gave their opinion. One person touching the trunk said it's a snake. Another touching the tail, it's a rope. The third touching the sides said it's a wall. The fourth touching the legs said it's a pillar. The fifth touching the tusk said it's a sword. And the last touching the ear said it's a fan. Who was right?
None of them.
All of them.
So one is saying none of them, one is saying all of them. Now who is right between them? Actually, all of them are partially in the right and totally in the wrong. And why did they go wrong?
Because they were blind.
So though being blind, if they had felt the elephant all over, they would have known what an elephant is. They did not feel the elephant all over. They had only a partial perspective of the elephant from which they overgeneralized. That if part of the elephant is like this, the entire elephant is like that. In the same manner, B1, B2, B3 are all overgeneralization of our partial experience with the totality. If I like something, it is good. If I don't like something, it is bad. This is the root of all conflicts. What is the remedy? P1 has to change B1 to BR, where BR stands for realistic belief. P2 has to change B2 to BR. P3 has to change B3 to BR. Whosoever changes their perspective will lose their susceptibility to get disturbed when they are confronted by stresses. And once the mind is at peace, their efficiency goes up, their relationships are cordial, and there is no material suppressed to give rise to psychogenic ailments. So, in this episode, after seeing the remaining components of the varieties of nature, we saw the need, the necessity to change over from unrealistic beliefs to realistic beliefs. In the next episode, we shall see what are the problems in this changeover, because it's not an easy job.